I think most people looking at my work would say it's extremely realistic, but actually there's quite a strong element of abstraction in it. And as I'm painting, everything that I'm looking at in a very abstract way. It's like looking close up at details in something. They become almost unreal, like saying a word over and over again until the word loses all meaning and becomes almost an abstract group of letters. I've always wanted to combine abstraction with realism in my work, and I'm doing that more and more now with gold leaf. You know, on every level, thinking about that more and more, and the beauty of forms in an abstract way as opposed to creating something that's very real, even though it all comes together to be something that's extremely real. And I've also just been trying to bring more emotion and expressionism in along with that. For instance, in one of my paintings, Noon Heat and Fragrant Bloom, you're looking into this bright sun, and I show that by having this huge pattern of gold leaf that's very abstract, but it gives you the feeling of looking into the bright, blasting noonday sun. Or another painting I did, Flash, where it's a lightning bolt, and I've broken the painting into panels so that it has that throbbing, strobing motion that you see when lightning flashes. And each panel becomes almost very abstract, especially in the sky area, even though there's a very real image of a sky and a coconut palm. I work with all kinds of reference that I pull from all over the place, from sketches that I've taken, from photographs going out with either a 35mm or a digital camera, from memory, from my mind, things I see out my window, obviously all the skies. I'm up on the 3rd floor, so all of the skies in my painting are inspired by what I see right outside my window. But more and more, I used to take very real situations and replicate them, and I'm not doing that anymore. I'm putting together all kinds of elements from all different places to make up the compositions of my paintings. For instance, this one I'm working on here, I spend a lot of time at Selby Arboretum in Sarasota, and there's a wonderful orchid house there with all kinds of unusual plants in it. And this one I will probably call something to do with primordial, because it's just these wonderful pitcher plants called nepenthe, and they hang down from the plants, and a staghorn fern, and then we have a lot of dragonflies. Whenever there's a lot of mosquitoes out, we get this wonderful dance of thousands and millions of dragonflies flitting around all over our yard, and it's just very magical. So I decided to incorporate that into this painting, this dance of dragonflies through the sky in all different positions and different distances. And you know, sometimes I'm not quite sure why I'm painting what I'm painting. It all kind of comes together and works for me, and I put these things together, and I may not know till far later or never even know why I'm choosing these things. I think a lot of it comes from childhood memories and ways of looking at things that I'm not even aware of. Kind of the way we all are in our daily life, where we're responding based on experiences that we've had a long time ago and we don't even realize that we are. It's the subconscious versus the conscious mind. So there's certain conscious decisions I make in my paintings, and then other decisions that are just totally subconscious, and as I say later, it may suddenly click with me why I've picked that particular subject matter, but it might take me years even to realize it, or maybe I'll realize it right away. I have certain things that I'm very conscious of why I'm putting them together. My grandfather had this beautiful tropical garden in Florida, in St. Petersburg, and he would put together very unusual things in his garden, but all very beautiful, very exotic. I did this one painting called Carambola and Roses, and it's a very strange juxtaposition of, you know, to see carambola with roses. But I had come down one April to visit my grandparents, and which is just a beautiful, beautiful time in Florida. It's our spring, which is different than spring in other places, but very, very beautiful. And he had this carambola tree that was just covered in fruit, and underneath it was blooming this incredible red rose bush. And I just thought it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. And at the time, I wasn't painting, but I had it in my mind, wishing that I could paint it, because I just thought it was such a beautiful image, and I'd never seen anything like it. So years later, I did this painting, Caramel and Roses. And that painting is an homage to my grandfather, but it's about that beautiful, beautiful memory of seeing those two together. When I was a child, I read a lot of magic books. I pretty much lived in my own little dream world in my head of magic, which is a lot of what I recreate now with my painting. And some of the images, I think, from that whole idea of magic is what sustained me through some of the difficult times in my childhood. And I think that's a lot of what my painting is for me now, is recreating that sense of magic visibly, you know, on the panels. I couldn't read enough magic books. I used to, through the looking glass, I used to stand on a chair and jump off the chair in front of a mirror, hoping I was going to go through the looking glass. Of course, it never really worked, but I was sure that someday it would. So, you know, I think that magic and that whole belief in magic when I was a child is a lot of what my painting is about for me now. It's very personal, and sometimes I don't, like I say, I don't understand exactly why I'm painting a certain image or what's coming through, but that's part of the magic of the experience. I have had these memories that make me realize how much my painting is the recreation of a lot of my childhood experiences. Apparently my mother gave up on worrying about me scribbling on the walls when I was young and put paper on the walls so that the whole apartment became my palette to draw on. And I have memories of her looking into the room and me feeling very safe and standing there drawing in this bright light of my bedroom. And they're really wonderful memories that have come to me later, just recently actually. I also had a memory just recently of, and I know that a lot of my love of beauty came from my grandparents. I was in a garden and I was looking at a plant that had these beautiful silvery gray leaves and this berry that looked almost like a raspberry, but it was sort of a frosty color, and I don't know what the shrub was, but I put my hand under it and I said, "Isn't that beautiful?" And I could see, because my hands are getting older, and I could see my grandmother's hand picking something up and saying, "Isn't that beautiful?" to me. And I think that she and my grandfather did that a lot, and that instilled in me this love of looking close up, which is what I normally do in my paintings, and of things of beauty, of recreating beauty. So as I say, I'm starting to realize more and more how all of this really just goes back to this big circle of repeating the pleasurable experiences of my childhood that sustained me and putting that experience into my paintings. I did 2 paintings of A Night Blooming Cereus. One of A Night Blooming Cereus under a full moon, and then the second one I have this friend Daphne who had a property on Minnesota Key that was just covered in night blooming cereus. And she had this cabbage palm that was just totally engulfed way up into the sky by night blooming cereus. And when it bloomed, it was just amazing. So I did a painting called Daphne's Night Blooming Cereus, but the whole connection with the night blooming cereus goes back to my grandfather in St. Petersburg. And these early childhood memories of him waking me up in the middle of the night, because that's the only time the night blooming cereus blooms, to see the night blooming cereus, and how magical that was to me as a child. It only blooms a couple times a year. So there again, I was recreating a childhood memory in my painting. Another thing which I absolutely love, obviously, is color, and this technique enables me to create this really rich color. It's an early Renaissance technique, the oil over egg tempera. And the reason it's so luminous is because you're looking through many, many layers of oil glaze. Paintings can take anywhere from 2 to 6 months to complete for medium to large size paintings. And you're looking through to this white egg tempera underpainting through these many, many layers of glaze. And that's what gives this luminous quality to the paintings. This technique was developed by Van Eyck in the early Renaissance, right at the time when oil paints were being developed. Medieval painters had used egg tempera, and now with oils being developed, this was the crossover technique that combined both the oil and egg tempera. And Van Eyck, that developed him, his family were glassmakers, and he was trying to replicate that feeling of looking through stained glass. Another thing that's really important to me in my paintings is texture. I love texture. There's a painting I did called Coconuts, which is an irregularly shaped painting, so I had fun working with the irregularity of the shapes. And also, that particular painting was just about looking close at this incredible texture in a coconut palm and having an opportunity to look at that as an abstract element and just look at it very abstractly and paint about that beautiful abstraction that occurs all the time in nature. I mean, if we look close up at things, everything is these incredible abstract textures and colors and forms that work together so beautifully. But if you break it down, it again becomes very abstract. The magic that I was talking about, that I was so fascinated with in my childhood in the magic books, C.S. Lewis wrote a wonderful series of books, and in one of them, and I can't remember what the name of it was, there was an image of being between worlds, and it was this forest full of little ponds or lakes. And if you jumped into a lake, you would find yourself in another world, and it was like this world between the worlds. And that image has just stayed with me. It's just this incredible spiritual image also, because there was an underlying spiritual image to all of his stories. They aren't just magical stories. I did these two paintings, Myakka Mist and Myakka Flood, which were inspired by this beautiful place called Myakka State Park, which, because Myakka River runs through it and everything is very low-lying, it floods very frequently. So I did these two paintings of the forest in the flood with this incredible backlight that comes through.